Chapter 1. The Ageless Guardian of the Sands. In 2008, a group of scientists met in Sofia at a conference on ancient geology and archaeology. Two Russian geologists named Manichev Vyacheslav I and Alexander G. Parkhomenko said that the Great Sphinx of Giza may be 800,000 years old. They based this idea on patterns of erosion found on the statue. Their findings suggest that the Sphinx was shaped by water and not by wind or sand. If this theory is true, then it changes the timeline of human history. Most experts believe the Sphinx was built around 2,500 years before the Common Era. They say it was made during the rule of Pharaoh Khafre. One of the main voices for this view is Mark Lehner. In his book, The Complete Pyramids, he says that all signs point to the time of Khafre as the date of the Sphinx. But the Russian study says the monument is far older. It may have been made long before any Egyptian kingdom even began. The Sphinx is still a mystery. No writings on its surface say who built it or why it was made. Even the Greek historian Herodotus described the pyramids in detail, but said nothing about the Sphinx. The well-known Egyptologist Zahi Hawass has said that the statue does not appear in any list of kings or old records from Egypt's early days. The Russian researchers say the statue was shaped by water. They say the deep cuts in its body could only be caused by long submersion. This agrees with the work of an American geologist named Robert Schoch. He also said that the erosion came from rain and not sandstorms. He too believed that the Sphinx is older than the first dynasties. The Russian team went even further. They said the Sphinx may have been underwater during the late Pliocene era. That would place it between 2 and 3 million years ago. They pointed to lake deposits found on the Giza plateau at high levels above the current sea line. These signs support the idea of ancient floods that may have covered the statue. This view builds on the ideas of Rushdie Said. He was a geologist who wrote about the Nile River in 1981. He described how seawater may have reached deep into Egypt during the Pliocene. These waters could have formed lakes that left the same kind of marks we now see on the Sphinx. These marks do not match the dry desert weather of the last 10,000 years. Chapter 2. Echoes from the Pleistocene. The idea that the Great Sphinx may be 800,000 years old is hard to accept. Such a claim does more than change a date. It forces us to ask if everything we think we know about human history might be wrong. If this idea is true, then someone in the distant past had the skill to shape stone with care and meaning long before modern humans even walked the earth. This brings up a deeper question. Who or what could have built such a monument during the Pleistocene era? At that time, the most advanced humans were called Homo erectus. These early people made rough hand tools from stone. They left no signs of advanced thought or sacred art. No one has found any proof that they could build anything close to the Sphinx. These questions push the limits of what we accept as fact. Some thinkers now wonder if there may have been another kind of human or even a different kind of being that lived long ago and held great skill. This idea is still only a theory, but more people are now open to the thought that some parts of history have been lost or ignored. One event that supports this shift is the discovery of a site called Göbekli Tepe. It was built more than 11,000 years ago. It has large stone pillars carved with strange shapes and set in perfect circles. These stones match the stars above. They show signs of a deep belief system. This was long before cities or temples were supposed to exist. If this could happen, then what else might have happened far earlier? If the Sphinx truly comes from a time before known history, then it may be the last trace of a lost world. That world may have been wiped out by floods or earthquakes. It may have stood on land that now lies deep underwater. This idea links with wider theories about old cultures that lived near the shores of seas that were lower during the last ice age. Strange ruins found in the sea near Japan and India support this view. Large stone shapes lie underwater where no city should exist. Some look like walls or roads. Others seem shaped by tools. These sites are still debated, but they hint at a pattern. That pattern shows that advanced stonework might have appeared in many places long before we expect. This is not just a problem for the study of Egypt. It affects the way we see the past as a whole. If the Sphinx has been dated wrongly, then maybe other things have too. Some parts of the earth rise or sink with time. Some are buried by sand or covered by oceans. Many signs of the past may have vanished from view. During the early Pleistocene, most people lived by hunting and gathering. They moved often and built no lasting homes. They used caves or made shelters with sticks. No evidence has been found to show that they planned buildings or carved sacred forms. The Sphinx does not match this way of life. It shows care. It shows planning. It points to the sky. To say that the Sphinx came before Homo sapiens is a major claim. It means we must think again about how humans grew and learned. It means that a high culture may have come before and left few traces, or it means that forces we do not yet understand played a role in early human life. Chapter 3. The Anomaly That Should Not Exist. Strange discoveries across the world suggest that we may not fully understand our past. Many experts say that ancient cultures grew slowly over time, but some ancient sites appear complete from the start. They do not show clear steps of progress. They seem to come from nowhere. This is the case with the Sphinx. If it is much older than we think, then we must ask where its builders came from. We must also ask why other signs of their culture do not remain. The monument may be a single piece left behind by a lost world. That world may have faded due to disaster or change. Carl Sagan once said that the lack of proof is not the same as proof of nothing. This is an important point. The past is full of gaps. Only a small part of what once existed still remains. Much of history is shaped by what time has saved and what time has erased. There are many strange places that make experts pause. The stone blocks of Parkhomenko fit with great skill. The site called Napta Playa shows knowledge of the stars. Underwater ruins near Bimini also raise questions. These sites do not fit the standard path of human growth. They show that early people may have had more skill than we give them credit for. The previously mentioned Göbekli Tepe is one such place. It was built more than 11,000 years ago. It holds tall stones placed with care. The builders carved animals and symbols into them. The layout seems to match the sky above. Klaus Schmidt, who studied the site, said it appears complete from the start. There are no signs of trial and error. This raises the question of where the knowledge came from. Now we return to the Sphinx. It is large and full of meaning, but no one signed it. No records say who made it. There are no names or royal marks. This is strange for Egypt. The people of the Nile kept careful records. Kings carved their deeds into stone. But here, we find only silence. Dr. Selim Hassan was one of the first to dig near the Sphinx. He said that it was nameless. No sign, no writing, no mark to tell its story. Even now, after many years, we still do not know who shaped it or why it was made. The Greek writer Herodotus traveled to Egypt in the 5th century, before the Common Era. He wrote about the Great Pyramid. He named the king as Khufu, but he said nothing about the Sphinx. This has puzzled scholars. If the Sphinx had been known to him, its absence makes no sense. Some say the statue may have been buried in sand when Herodotus visited. If so, then he may not have seen it. Others believe the Sphinx was already a ruin in his time. Its meaning may have been lost. People may have walked past it without knowing its story. Mainstream experts still say that Pharaoh Khafra built the Sphinx. They point to the shape of its face. They note that it lines up with his temple and road. But even this is just a theory. No writing proves it. The statue does not say his name. More and more strange facts have come to light. These facts force us to look again at the timeline of history. The Sphinx is not just a monument. It is a reminder. It shows that we do not yet understand everything about the past. Chapter 4. Prophecy Beneath the Paws. One of the most unusual ideas about the Sphinx does not come from archaeology. It comes from the world of dreams and visions. Edgar Cayce was an American mystic who gave readings in a trance state. He was often called the sleeping prophet. He said that the Sphinx was not built by the ancient Egyptians. He believed it came from an even older time. He said it was made by people who survived the fall of Atlantis. Cayce said the Sphinx was more than just a statue. He said it was a marker placed to guard something hidden below. He called this place the Hall of Records. It was said to hold the story of Atlantis. It would contain scrolls or crystals that told of a lost age. Cayce said this chamber was located between the paws of the Sphinx. He said it would one day be found when the world was ready to learn its truth. No one has found this chamber. Still, some research in the early 1990s showed strange spaces under the Sphinx. A geophysicist named Thomas Dobecki worked with a researcher named John Anthony West. They found shapes underground that looked man-made. These forms did not match the natural stone nearby. They were sharp and square. But Egyptian officials have not allowed any new digging in that area. They say the site must be protected. Even though Cayce's vision has not been proven, his ideas have shaped how many people think about Egypt. He helped inspire a wave of writers and thinkers who questioned the old views. One of them is Robert Schoch. He is a trained geologist. He does not agree with psychic methods, but he does believe that the Sphinx is older than most experts claim. He says that rain made the deep cuts in its body. That means it could be far older than the dynasties of Egypt. Cayce also said that the story of Atlantis matches the one told by Plato. In both cases, we hear of a land beyond the known world. That land was rich and wise. It fell due to pride and disaster. Plato said it sank under the sea. Cayce said some people survived and passed on their knowledge. Both stories speak of great skill and sudden loss. If we believe that such a lost culture once existed, then the Sphinx might be only one part of its legacy. Other writers, such as Robert Bauval, say the pyramids match the stars in Orion's belt. This would mean the builders had deep knowledge of the sky. It may show that they built with a plan that linked heaven and earth. Such a plan may have come from a time before the pharaohs. People who support this view point to how fast early cultures rose. In places like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Mesoamerica, the first cities did not grow slowly. They appeared with full systems in place. They had complex beliefs, sacred calendars, and stone buildings. These signs suggest they did not build everything from the ground up. they may have received knowledge from an earlier time. Casey's vision of Atlantis cannot be tested with science, yet it fits into a larger pattern. This pattern connects myths, ancient ruins, and sky maps. It tells a story that is hard to prove, yet hard to ignore. Some see it as pure myth. Others feel it points to a truth that waits just out of reach. The Sphinx still watches the horizon each morning. Its eyes face the rising sun. It may be more than a statue. It may hold a message from a time we have nearly forgotten. Chapter 5. The Stela That Should Not Exist. One of the most puzzling objects linked to the Sphinx is a carved stone called the Inventory Stela. It was found on the Giza plateau in the 19th century. Today, it is kept in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Experts say it comes from the 26th dynasty, which was around 670 years before the Common Era. But the stela tells a story set during the time of King Khufu. This is the same king who is usually said to have built the Great Pyramid. The words on the stone tell a different story. The stela says that Khufu did not build the Sphinx. Instead, he found it already standing. It stood beside a temple for the goddess Isis, who was called the mistress of the pyramid. Khufu did not build the Sphinx or the pyramid for himself. He repaired the statue and built a pyramid for his daughter, named Henutsen. This suggests that the site already existed and that Khufu only added to it. The Sphinx is called Huran, or Horamakhet, on the stela. That name means Horus in the horizon. It links the statue to the sky and to sacred forces. The words on the stela do not speak of the Sphinx as just a monument. They call it a divine being. It is said to guard the air and guide the winds of the world. These words show that the Sphinx was treated as part of a holy land that already had deep meaning. The stela also says that Khufu repaired the statue. He fixed the headdress and parts of the body. It also says the statue had color. Some parts were painted. Modern tests have found traces of red pigment on the face. This supports the claim that the Sphinx was once painted, though there is no proof it ever had gold, as the stela suggests. If the story on the stone is true, then the Sphinx was already old when Khufu ruled. It may have been a ruin from a lost age, but not all scholars agree. Many experts think the stela was made to serve a purpose. They say it was part of a trend in late Egypt. Some writings were made to give power and honor to temples by linking them to great kings of the past. These texts were not always true records. Still, even these stories may keep pieces of old beliefs. The fact that this stela shows Khufu as one who repairs and not one who builds may reflect a tale passed down from earlier days. People in late Egypt may have heard that the Sphinx was ancient even then. The last line of the stela says that the Sphinx faces east. That is still true today. The face of the statue looks straight toward the rising sun. This ties the Sphinx to gods of light and rebirth. In that role, it is linked to Ra Horakti, the god who joins the powers of Ra and Horus. The Sphinx may have been made as a guardian of the dawn. The inventory stela is not easy to explain. It may not be a true record, but it shows that even in later times, the Sphinx was seen as a relic from a deeper past. Its mystery was not new. Even the ancient people believed it was old. Chapter 6. The Kings Before Time. In the year 1884, a French scholar named Gaston Maspero wrote a book called The Dawn of Civilization. In that book, he shared a bold idea. He said the Sphinx might not come from the time of the pharaohs. He believed it came from a much older age, ruled by beings known as the Shemsu Hor. These were the followers of Horus. They were said to be part divine and part human. Maspero thought the Sphinx could be one of their monuments. This idea of a lost age is not found only in one book. The ancient texts of Egypt speak of a time before kings. They call it the first time. It was said to be an age when gods ruled the land. The pharaohs were not seen as inventors of law or order. They were seen as guardians of a sacred trust passed down from the gods. This idea shaped the religion, the art, and the worldview of ancient Egypt for many centuries. One of the most important records from Egypt is called the Turin King List. It was written during the 19th dynasty. It shows a list of rulers in order. But this list does more than name the pharaohs. It includes God's spirits and other beings who ruled before Menes, the first king of the first dynasty. This list is different from others found at places like Abydos or Saqqara. Those lists leave out names that do not fit the royal line, but the Turin canon includes all types of rulers. It even says that the gods ruled for over 13,000 years. Then the Shemsu Hor ruled for another 23,000 years. Only after that did human kings rise to power. Many experts say these long spans of time are myth. They say the numbers are not real. They believe the names of gods were added to show the power of the temples. But other scholars have a different view. They say the texts may hide memories of real ages. The numbers could point to a history that was forgotten and only partly remembered. Writers like Robert Bauval and Robert Temple have studied these ideas. They say the Shemsu Hor may have come from a lost land or a great culture that no longer exists. Some believe they came from Atlantis. Others say they came from the stars. In his book, The Sirius Mystery Temple suggested that gods like Isis and Osiris may have come from another world. He said their stories hold clues to a past that was cosmic, not earthly. No matter how we view these stories, the list of rulers before the dynasties raises big questions. The people of Egypt did not think their history began with simple tools and small villages. They believed it began with greatness and light. Their past was full of gods and order, not chaos and struggle. The Sphinx may be part of that older world. It faces the rising sun and stands with power and mystery. It may have been made not for a man, but for a line of beings we no longer understand. Its form, carved in stone, may hold the last message of an age before time. Chapter 7. The civilization that appeared fully formed. If the Sphinx is truly as old as some believe, then the story of Egypt must be told in a new way. We cannot look only at the statue itself. We must ask how the people of Egypt gained such deep skill in building in math and in sacred thought. The question is no longer just about dates. It becomes a question of memory and loss. What was forgotten and who remembered it? The time before Egypt's first kings lasted from about 5,500 to 3,100 years before the Common Era. This era shows little in the way of large buildings or written texts. People of the Badarian and Naqada cultures left behind simple tools and homes. But then the first dynasty began and brought full systems of rules, sacred kings, and exact art. These things did not grow slowly. They seemed to appear all at once. Toby Wilkinson is a historian who has written much about Egypt. He said, "The start of the state shows fast growth, strong power, and clear belief. It looks like a system that was already tested and shaped. The people already knew how to rule, how to build, and how to link the heavens to the earth. This leap is most clear in the Old Kingdom. This was the age of the pyramid builders. It lasted from about 2700 to 2100 years before the Common Era. In that short span, Egypt made things that still amaze the world. Temples were placed to match the sun. Shafts were dug with perfect skill. The Great Pyramid was built with such care that its sides are nearly equal over great distances. It was made in just a few decades. It still stands today as the last of the ancient wonders. These acts did not come after long years of trial. They came soon after Egypt was united. Within a few lifetimes, the people made a full writing system. They shaped their myths. They tracked the stars and laid out their lands based on sacred rules. This speed points to lost knowledge. It suggests that something older was passed down. Gaston Maspero believed this as well. He said the holy texts of Egypt came from minds that lived over 7,000 years ago. He thought their ideas were older than the temples we see. He saw in them the signs of deep time and sacred memory. This view is also found in the holy texts themselves. The pyramid texts, the coffin texts, and the Book of the Dead all speak of a time before kings. They tell of gods who ruled of balance in the world and of stars as guides for the soul. These books are full of order and meaning. They seem to come not from new thought, but from old songs and spoken rites. They may hold the last light from a world now lost. The rise of Egypt may not be about what people made. It may be about what they still knew. That knowledge may have survived through voice and prayer. It may have returned after a great fall. It may be the echo of a long past age. And at the center of this mystery stands the great Sphinx. For thousands of years, it has watched the sky. It may be a sign that what we call the start was really the end of something far more ancient. Chapter 8. The Echoes Beneath the Sand. We have dug the ground and studied the stones. We have read the texts and measured the stars. Still, the deepest questions about ancient Egypt remain without clear answers. Who was the first to shape sacred buildings to match the sky? Who passed down the skill to build with numbers and symbols? And what kind of world came before all this? Modern science has given us many tools. We have archaeology and language study and expert maps. Yet more and more thinkers now believe that these tools may not be enough. The more we look at Egypt, the more we find not answers, but new riddles. Some have said it is time to change how we think. The old way sees myths as made-up stories, but maybe myths are memories told in secret words and signs. The old way sees history as a straight line, but maybe it is more like a cycle. Civilizations may rise, then fall, then rise again. Some may be lost in water or sand. Some may live on only in stone or story. To see Egypt in full, we may need to change what we mean by the word civilization. Wisdom does not always leave ruins behind. It can survive in song and in prayer. It can pass from one age to the next, through rites and sacred art. Some temples speak not through words, but through form and light and shape. The past may not be gone. It may still speak. We just need to learn how to hear it in new ways. What we call history may only be part of the truth. Much has been forgotten. Some things may still wait to be known. If we face this mystery with care, we do not lose reason. We grow it. The Sphinx still looks to the dawn. It waits in silence. It may not just point to the past. It may ask us to remember what once was and what still may be. Myths are not lies. They hold truth shaped into story. And stories may outlive stone. Dr. Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth